This week we're reading a book called Superfans by Pat Flynn. This is my second time reading this book. This is James's first time reading this book. He really likes it. I really like it. So the reason why I really like this book and the reason why I recommended it to James is because I think this book is a really good guide in creating the most valuable asset a human can have in the time that we're living in right now. So we are moving from a society based on scarcity to a society based on abundance. And the most valuable thing a person could create is attention and trust, or like a brand around yourself. And this book kind of gives you the step-by-step process that you need in order to take a stranger, someone that doesn't know you, all the way to a person that is a super fan. And a super fan is a person who will pretty much support any project that you put out there into the world. I first heard about this idea from reading Kevin Kelly. He wrote a really cool essay called 1,000 True Fans, and his idea was that you only need 1,000 true fans to support whatever creative endeavor that you're doing. And in this book, that takes that idea and just blows it up and gives you a step-by-step process. In Pat's book, he talks about this thing called the pyramid of fandom, where you're trying to take people that discover you and your content up the pyramid until they finally become a super fan, so you can actually use their attention, use their trust to create valuable things for them and the society as a whole, and then also support yourself as a creator or a business person or whatever that is that you're trying to do. So I really like this book. I hope you guys like it. Let's jump into the conversation. I love this book, man. The reason why I think it's so cool is because I first read about Kevin Kelly, who is this technologist guy from Tim Ferriss's podcast. And I just read his article about 1,000 True Fans, and it just hit me because that was about the time I got into YouTube, and I was thinking about man, I need to get millions and millions of subscribers so in order to build a business. But this dude, he just wrote this essay called 1,000 True Fans, and the basic premise was, dude, you only need 1,000 people to support you in order to create a thriving creative business. And I've been thinking about that idea for so long, but I just didn't know how do you go and build a true fan base like that. And then this book came about and I was like, oh shit, there's the blueprint. And I just started reading it, and it was just broke it down step by step by step. And I've never seen something like that before. And another thing that was really cool about this particular author is he did it himself. He's built this cool podcast. He has a YouTube channel, and he makes, his blog is called Smart Passive Income. So he's done this before. So it was really cool to learn all this information from a guy that's kind of already done it, and he's kind of giving you his secrets. So that's why I was like, man, you got to read it.
I mean, I loved it. And it's funny because the title and kind of the premise and brands, personal brands in general, they've gotten kind of a weird name, and I've always kind of felt like slimy. But then you look at what it actually is, just people that support your work. And I think a lot of it, especially in education, a lot of it, people aren't out to try to flip it for quick money or anything like that. But it's more just about putting yourself out there, trying things, and getting people to helping people for the most part. Like he said, Pat Flynn, the author of the book we're reading, Super Fans, is all about just trying to provide literally a playbook, like you said. And what's crazy is you read the title Super Fans, and listening to the book, it's yep. And one thing that was really both tough and reassuring is everything that he spells out, and we'll go through some of this with the clips, were things that we didn't know we were doing at Breakout EDU when we were growing the company, but we were doing it. And it's so funny, when we stopped doing some of the strategies or some of the things that he mentioned, it stopped growing. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing about, connecting with you, chatting through some of the things that definitely worked, and things to avoid, because there's definitely a lot of pitfalls in there. What Nishant and I each did was, we listened to the book. We're big audiobook people. He does 100 plus books a year. I do around 40 to 50. We can talk about strategies on how do we consume so much audio content. But what we did was we went in and we each gathered some clips from the book that really spoke to us, that really kind of, will help you, the viewer of this, see if this is a book that you want to listen to, or something you can just take away, even if you don't find the time to listen to Pat Flynn. So the first one, here we go.
Instead of trying to reach the narrow and unlikely peaks of platinum bestseller hits, blockbusters, and celebrity status, you can aim for a direct connection with 1,000 true fans. Or, the way I like to put it, you don't need to change the entire world to build a successful business. You just need to change someone's world.
Yeah, like that is it, right? You know, you see these people going into the space and they're like, oh man, I'm going to like build this giant brand. Like for a lot of teachers, it's like teachers pay teacher stars are kind of the pinnacle. And they read these success stories about like so-and-so made so many hundreds of thousands of dollars because they sell their stuff on there, you know, but like the second you start focusing on that bigger stuff, like you were saying at the beginning, this like gigantic brand that's, you know, consumed by millions or whatever, you lose it. Like it start with one person. Like, you know, maybe it's Susan in Iowa, you know, whatever, and get them in and like have them understand, you know, sell them on you, like by helping them or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. But I think you can even go closer than helping one person. You can first start to help yourself, like pick the problem that you're having issues with. Like for you guys, you were like a classroom teacher. So you were like, man, my lessons are kind of boring. Like, how can I make it more interesting? So you guys invented this thing, right? Like you just took an idea from a different industry, brought it into the classroom to make the classroom more entertaining. For me, like with my stuff about dyslexia, it's like I couldn't read. Like I still can't spell and write stuff. So I just like solve those problems for myself. And now like I'm putting my solutions into the world. And when you can solve stuff for yourself, then other people kind of resonate with it, and because they probably have the same issues you have, because you know you're a human. So I think this idea of solving a problem for millions and millions of people actually means you're not solving a problem for anyone. So like when you can solve a problem for yourself, one person, then that problem can like resonate with other people. But if you're trying to get everyone to like you, everyone to like use your product, no one's going to use your product because it's not for them. It's for everybody, you know?
It's like, it's crazy you say that. Like, I think you're more right than what I just said. Like, you totally like reminded me of like, what was those early days? And it's funny they say it because it's like right now it's about 10 years ago right now, when Google decided that they were going to try to make Chromebooks, right? And for whatever dumb luck reason, my tiny school in LA was chosen as the first place to test them. And then my school chose me, this like mediocre history teacher, to be the first classroom to use them. And everything that I did for the next 2 to 3 years was trying to design stuff for my classroom, for my students. And it was the authenticity of that translated into some of the other opportunities that came about afterwards, whether it's opportunities to speak or people, you know, following your work online, but authentic, you know, you're helping yourself do your practice. Everything else is just, yeah. So I think, yeah, you persuaded me that is the truth right there.
I think another cool thing about that is like you have all the control. Like you have like when you're building something for yourself, you're your customer, you're the user base, and you know all the use cases, how you're gonna like, you're very intimately involved in this product that you're making. So you can make it really good for yourself, and then maybe some parts of that really goodness will be able to help someone just like you. And then there's like billions of us in the world. So like there's other people just like you who have this problem. So yeah, I think that's a really great approach to like solving anything in like the online space. It's because like the beautiful thing about the internet is that it connects everyone to everyone else. That's like this magical power. So, you know, back in the days, maybe you lived in a fishing village somewhere and your very specific problem wouldn't be able to scale. But now your very specific problem is able to scale.
People have those problems too. Yeah, exactly. And then like where you learn and what you share and grow, you know, and then just a byproduct of, you know, I think one of the books, another book quick, and I didn't even put it here, but it's just on my shelf because it's that important. It's like,
right. Okay.
Right. You know, so, you know, and it's that if you want to build a brand, you know, like first of all, get out of your head about building a brand, like solve a problem. Like, you know, and the brand comes from sharing your story, your process. Like Show Your Work by Austin Kleon documents this. Like he has a giant brand, but he was solving his own problem, just trying to put his work out there. Before we hear the next clip, actually, no, put on your next clip and I'll try to save it because I have something else.
Okay, cool. Let's just do that. So I think this is it. This could be it.
Themselves and each other as Trekkies, gathering in the tens of thousands each year at conventions and other events.
Dude, slow it down. Come down to your 1.0.
Oh, hold on. Yeah,
none of us can listen to stuff at 3.0 or whatever you do. Come on.
Oh, sorry, dude. Hold on. I recorded it. So let me get to this spot. It's at 209, chapter 18.
Chapter 18, 209. All right, I'll search too. I mean, I guess we could listen to it and translate it that way. Like for those that are still watching, like that is how he consumes 100 books a year. Yeah, while he's searching. All right. Well, while you're looking, like I'll make the point that I wanted to make. But yeah, like the key is listening faster. I'm like a 1.3, 1.2. Audible is a great one. I also get books from the library through an app called Overdrive, and that's key to like because I don't want to waste all my money on these things. Like, I balance it out. I get my 1 credit a month through Audible, but like most of it is like, and Audible has a bunch of free stuff too. All right, your Audible clip, they're not even paying for this. So like that.
Let me push back on like wasting money on books though. Like, come on, dude. Yeah. Like it's $10. Like this guy, he worked like 30, 40, like, I don't know, 10 years figuring out all this stuff. And he's like, take it, $10. It's kind of worth it. I don't know. And then it's like,
and I paid him twice. I paid him twice.
Yeah, but still,
physical because I'm like, I gotta take notes on this stuff. I paid him twice. I hear you, but it's a balance, man.
It's a balance.
You have it yet?
209.
Play it at 3.0 if it's gonna be like really hard for you to do this.
Okay, I'll play it at 1.0. Here we go.
Got it.
Name has stuck. To this day, fans of Star Trek identify themselves and each other as Trekkies, gathering in the tens of thousands each year at conventions and other events. And they all know that when they get there, there's one thing they're going to see: someone just like them.
Yep.
A name may seem like a simple thing, but it's really powerful. When you're a member of a community with a name, you have an identity as part of a group that rallies around the brand or artist and is even willing to fight for a common goal. Taylor Swift, for example, has her group of fans called Swifties, consisting of millions of people who not only enjoy her music, but also come to her aid when she needs it. Whether it's a disagreement with a record label or platform, gossip in the media, or Kanye West stealing her time on stage, Swifties are there to support their icon like their lives depend on it. The same goes with Justin Bieber and his Beliebers, Lady Gaga and her Little Monsters.
Anyways, this is just saying like how powerful like naming like your super fans are the people that like support your work is.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it, but like I like that thing is I think we already have we have who we are as different people to different situations. So like at home with your wife, your husband, with your kid, you're a dad, at work, you're a teacher, but that's like a very powerful identity that you create by just naming that thing. The thought patterns that go into that, the behavior that you have, all those things are like automatically changing depending on what name you embody at that moment. So if you can like give your audience a name, then you can like embed a bunch of things into that name, a bunch of meanings into that name that everyone in that group can kind of vibe with. So I think it's really a powerful idea. It's like psychologically, like as humans, I think this is like a thing that we can probably tap into to like create a stronger connection between superfans and communities. So I think it's like super important.
I mean, this is one that like to be honest, like I go back and forth on. Like I agree, like, and I know it is powerful, and it is kind of like that potentially that jet fuel that takes something from like 1 to 10. But like well, and then maybe it's just each person is their own. Like for me, like my reason why I'd hesitate to do something like that is going back to that word authenticity. If I can figure out a way to use some sort of identity, branding, name thing on a community side and still feel like I'm maintaining my authenticity, then that's the right move. But what's thing, and this is what I was going to say earlier, like what I really like about this book being our first, and if it's our only, but first one, and why it's so important is like, I'm once again at that beginning stage. right? So I'm still, we still break EDU, but I'm still there. I still, have a huge interest and stake in seeing it succeed. But going back to like why we stopped succeeding or why it stopped growing was we started doing some of these practices in this book, and there'll be some specific shares. But now I'm like, okay, like how do I start over? And that authenticity comes from like, I have a passion for ed tech startups. I've, built two. I have a passion for seeing like how teachers, adopt new ideas, why somebody starts a journey to say, I'm going to build something to like solve a problem, not just like find something. So, I feel like I'm back at square one, and I've just unlocked this guidebook, and there's a bunch of other books that, pulling from. I think it's just an amalgamation of everything, but yeah, like, I don't know, like I go back and forth. Like, my question for you is there any ed tech brands that have done a good job of naming it? Not companies. I think maybe companies.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they just don't do it like a company would. But there's movements in like teaching. There's like a lot of. Don't you think there's a lot of movements in teaching? There's like this whole thing of like, oh, I'm a PBL teacher, or like I'm a tech teacher, like I'm a tech.
That's right, and I think that is the ed tech version.
Yeah,
like somebody like I blended learning, or but I think it's changing it. Like it's not like I'm the I don't know, like I don't want to like say anybody specific, but like I'm John Doe on the Doers, in the Doughboys or whatever. Like and like you don't see that, but I think you're right. Well, I mean, one group is there, if there's a name to it, one company that absolutely kills it in this area is Flipgrid. Man, like Flipgrid is a great example of like authenticity at scale. Like they're now owned by Microsoft, but like you go to them, like they're, shout out to, the folks that both lead their online stuff and community building, but like that is how you do it. Like that's at scale.
And also the Google Innovator thing. Like, I think that's like you give them an identity. Hey, you got chosen into this selected group of people. Now you have this like identity. True. And then like, with this, I think we got to be kind of careful because you can't take it too literally. I think it's not just the name that matters. It's the identity behind the name that matters. So like I really don't think like calling something like a red thing or a blue thing, I don't think that matters. But like what is behind that identity? That's like the thing that people resonate with. So even if you're not building like a specific like a name into your brand, you're kind of doing it already, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? So like, if you are starting to share your work online, I think trying to figure out either like who you are and your identity, and then how can you share stuff in a way that brings other people to have that, or, like who already have that, or changes them to believe they have that. Like for example, like, a couple of the identities that I professionally believe in right now is like, I believe I'm an entrepreneur, right? And like in a true sense. I think there's a lot of, that's a word that's way overused right now, but like somebody who's like, there's not this thing, and I'm going to invent something that fills a need that is not being met. That's not like I'm a small business owner, or I'm going to take some other idea and, apply business practices to scale it. No, it's like there's nothing and you put in something. Like, and that for me, that's like the purest sense. And then the other one is like an ed tech person. And what I like about the ed tech brand right now is like most people are saying like ed tech is dead because it's just education. Yes, which means it creates an opportunity for us to rewrite what that means. Yeah. Like, and I love that, like, you're right. Like education involves a ton of technology today, but like, what does education technology mean to me? And somebody who believes that the power of technology can transform a classroom, whether you're building it or you're pointing to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, I got one more, my next clip. All right. I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Success with Bonjoro began to open my eyes to the power of small, short, unexpected, personalized messages. There are different ways to do this. You could send an email or a direct message on Twitter or Instagram. But if you really want to make an impression and bring out someone's inner superfan, send a video message. Videos, maybe more than just any other kind of digital communication, are personal. They suggest more time and effort went into producing and sending them. And since there's a real person with a voice and a face on the other end engaging with you and you alone, it can make a very powerful impression.
So like my question for you, like, for everybody listening, like what he's talking about is like doing something that creates a personal connection between you and potentially that very first super fan, or creating more, so like when I know your goal, your resolution, your goal this year, Nishant, is to grow your YouTube channel. I think you said 100,000 subscribers, and you're well on your way. What from reading this book a second time are you going to use to try to start tackling or climbing that mountain that you've set for yourself?
I think I made a mistake with that goal. Is what I'm realizing.
No.
Well, here's the thing. I think I'll come back to this. Like how am I going to do it? But I think that goal is kind of out of my hands because I can create a content, but that content is kind of largely based on an algorithm that's going to serve it up to, however many people that it's going to get served up to. So it's better to have a goal that I can actually like take pieces out of, it's hard to make progress on something that you don't have any control over. So like, I still want to grow the YouTube channel, but I think the number is irrelevant. I think it's going to be more of like this many videos at this level of at this level of quality over this time period. If I hit that, then I'll be successful. So if I do that, hopefully that'll get a lot more exposure. But if I don't do it, it's not going to be because I didn't make all these videos. It's going to be because like I didn't get lucky with the YouTube algorithm, but there's a chance to get lucky, but I just kind of didn't. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I hear you, and I think that's right. Like, but the one pushback is like, when I heard that goal, what I knew was, hey, if he's able to accomplish this, he's then going to have more options.
Yeah.
Like how does he want to go from this? And I think that's where options are powerful. A lot of like what I've really respected is a lot of people that were like ed tech influencers, 5-10 years ago who, were able to leave the classroom and do speaking and, be the person that are like, oh my gosh, I just saw so-and-so at a conference, but like the back to the classroom stuff. Right. I think a lot of us got caught up in some of that, some people way more than others, but with success, giving you that flexibility, like who do you want to be? Right. If like for me, like, I love building stuff. I love what we built at Breakout EDU and the stories yet to be written, but also finding like, what's my happiness in that process? How can I, do something authentically, like learning about the space, learning how ideas are spread. And the byproduct of that is making the product or Breakout EDU better or bigger. So when I hear 100,000, I'm like, okay, if he gets anywhere close to that, he now has the flexibility to really solve the problems he wants to solve.
Yeah.
It's not like your evening hustle. It's like freedom.
Yes, exactly. So I think you're talking to the power of having a large audience. Mm-hmm. It just gives you. All right. So okay, here's a little theory. Like I've read. Look, none of this stuff is mine. I just like read all this stuff, but
Well, none of any of these things are ours. It's just Go ahead.
So so the world is moving from like this like scarcity mindset type of thing to like where like material goods like were really hard to get to. Now it's moving towards like abundance. Like if you think about like the problems of our society right now, it's all problems of abundance, not problems of scarcity. So like back in the days, you would have died of starvation. Maybe you might have died because you didn't have enough information. You would have died because you didn't have enough community, like you were isolated or something, right? But now we have too much food. People are dying because they're getting too fat. People are losing community because there's too much social media. There's like a lot of problems of abundance is happening. And I think in this world, the most important asset that you can have is attention and trust.
Yeah.
Because you can pretty much have access to capital. You have access to pretty much all like material goods. in our world right now is more abundant than like it was like 100 years ago. Like if you're like a king living 100 years ago, I'm probably living better than that person because we have so much abundance. Right. So the problem is when everyone has so much stuff, what is the thing that becomes scarce? Attention, human attention, and trust. Yeah. So if you can like learn to cultivate that, building a personal, that dirty word, personal brand. If you can get that, then you that's like the person that's going to be successful. That's the person that's going to have freedom. That's the person that's going to like be able to like think of something and see it happen in the real world. It's almost like a magic power. Like if you can build like this audience to help you like make the things in your head real.
Well, I think, I think you're exactly right. I mean, let me start off kind of this next stuff with like something that is very obvious. Like I am privileged AF. Like, from the color of my skin to my gender to opportunities, getting lucky as far as, career advancement, stuff like that. A lot of it came from that privilege. So, and I think one thing that what you're talking about is very true, but at the same time, we live in a era where like the haves and the have-nots are going like this, right? And I grew up in the sticks, rural Washington State, single wide trailer. Like, when we just got started, we did get to move into a house, but like literally food stamps, like my mom behind the grocery store when they threw out the food. She worked there, was able to get some of that stuff. Hopefully she doesn't get in trouble for me saying that. But you're right. Like, those that do get to this point, it comes with a responsibility of what do you do with that attention, right? Like, can we use it for good? As the economy changes, jobs become scarce. We're amidst this huge pandemic. Like, what does that actually mean when you have so few getting so much? But it's like this weird form of poverty now. It's like the rich get to live this minimalist lifestyle, and it's the poor that have all the gadgets and the shoes and it's really, really, really hard. And I've done no solutions. But I do know it's a problem, huge problem.
Yeah, I wonder if this is like a transitional thing. Like it's just like the internet just happened.
Yep.
This attention economy just happened.
Yep.
So it's like it's almost like a gold rush. So people that figured it out early are able to like mine the gold, get that bag, and now what happens to the rest of the people? Maybe it'll equal out because those gold rushes created like economies, cities, like in all over the coast of California, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe this is like the settling of the internet. Maybe like everyone is going to have a little personal brand, a little business. It might not be like, huge companies, but it could be like something that they're really passionate about, that they build like a small audience, like a group of super fans around. That's very, very niche. Maybe only like 1,000 people in the country or the world will support that business, but that person can survive because it's very niche. They're the only person that's doing it. It's like their personal monopoly kind of.
Yeah, and I think one of the books that you recommended to me previously speaks to this with the sovereign individual.
Yes.
And read it, it's good. But one thing that I think is hard for us, those living in this moment, to see is there's a very real chance that we're at this like dividing line between two eras of history, whether it's, American history or world history. And it might be both, right? Like the people that were living during the steady fall, or the early stages of the fall of the Roman Empire, probably didn't know that they were at this like crazy dividing line in world history.
Yeah.
Like I believe we're probably at this very big dividing line in world history that we can't see, but we're starting to see some signs of it. Do
you have like a positive view of this or like a pessimistic view of this? Where do you think this is going? I'm on the same page with you.
Yeah.
Where are you landing on the coin? Positive or negative?
It changes daily, man. Like, I don't know. Like, whether it's like what you saw with, the political divide and like literally like what you saw a couple of weeks ago at the Capitol and things like that, but also what you saw yesterday and the day before with GameStop and like AMC stock, like where these small time investors, are basically performing a maneuver called a short, what's it called, a short squeeze to really like damage these big hedge funds. And the hedge funds lost their mind, and whoever the powers that be didn't allow people yesterday to trade GameStop stock or AMC stock and a few others. And it's like, wait, what? Like you can't, like, just because you're losing and like we're realizing that a lot of the stuff that we had a lot of trust in, we probably shouldn't have, and that's where like you have it on the far right with like crazy conspiracy theories, but you also have like truth points of literally, hey, you're hurting us. You can't buy that stock. And it's like, wait, the free market and capitalism are like what we're getting way off. But like, I think that's to bring it back to super fans is like, how can you, those that also have privilege, also have voice, pick problems to solve and bring folks along with it, whether you're a teacher and you're bringing your students along to solve the problem, or you're wanting to help teachers, or like even an entrepreneur, like we all have a responsibility in writing what's next. But guess what? It is happening like right now. Like I believe that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Do you think it's like it's like money? Like when someone becomes rich, they have a responsibility to like take care of those that like don't have money? Do you think it's like some kind of like it's like you're in a privileged spot, so like do you it's kind of like that movement of like the billionaires giving away their money before they die. There's like some pledge they sign to give away all their money.
Oh yeah, the billionaire pledge or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think it's something like that? Once you reach a certain level of influence, you have some like moral or like responsibility to use that influence to move the world in a positive direction? Or do you think it's just like, all right, you earned it, you worked hard or you got lucky to get this thing, do what you want with it?
Yes and no, right? I think yes, if you have the, abundance, you should be deploying that for good, whether it's like, the Gates Foundation, vaccine research and trying to help that. And like, I think there's a lot of examples of that, or, even like, I won't use that as an example, but like, yes. But I think what's even more important is like, how can we transition us off of that money mindset, right? And like make it okay. And I mean, I believe that the government should provide a huge safety net. Like, going back to, I know you were a fan of Andrew Yang's presidential campaign and like this universal income. Like, let's just make sure everybody's good. Whether it's like more taxes on the rich. Like, there's no reason that capital gain should be taxed at a lesser rate than like the average worker making like $50,000-$60,000 or 25. Like, that's nuts. Like, let's use those to build a foundation so that you can't drive down like San Francisco and see what you see today. Like, it is heartbreaking what we're allowing to happen. So I do think like, we need to use the monies through taxes or philanthropy to really build that safety net. But then also like, how do we culturally get out of this idea of like success is money, and being able to acquire numbers in a computer account that you log into, I don't know. There we go.
Once upon a time, I had two friends in the online business world. They started their own business together around the same time I fired up Smart Passive Income, and we helped each other navigate this challenging new world. We chatted online a lot and even met in person a few times. We were all trying to figure out this online business thing, and it was great to have each other to lean on and share business advice. I considered them my friends. After some time, their businesses started to take off. They were making money and developing a name in the entrepreneurial space. I was excited for their success, but I wasn't excited about how the success was changing who they were. The attention and the money started to get to their heads. Their behavior changed. They became self-centered, like everything was owed to them. It became clear that the money and fame were more important to them than relationships. They also started...
All right. So I think, the reason why I like that clip is in the space that I'm in, ed tech, I don't think it was necessarily money that got to people's heads. It was follower counts and like random stuff, like, and believing that, and they started drifting away from that authenticity. And I think that's also probably why you see waves of influence, right? You have kind of the early pioneers, and I'll speak to ed tech, of ed tech. There was like a handful of mostly guys, mostly white guys. And then you have kind of the second wave of modern ed tech. And I put myself, in that group, much lower level, but, in that group. But now, like, I think a lot of the folks that came up, in that second wave with us, it got to their head, or they took their eye off the ball and were trying to, like, how do I monetize, and like literally like chats of like, oh, did you get this car? Like crazy stuff like that. But once they went down that path, it was like a cancer that grew inside of it. And I think you see kind of this new wave, and it's primarily on Instagram. It's primarily like elementary school teachers they're crushing it. Like they each have 50,000 plus followers, and their videos are fun. A lot of authenticity, a lot of like, hey, I just lost my job, I'm trying to get a new job, things like that. But once they realize that they can monetize that attention, then who they really are will start to show. Like the real ones will like not let that get to them. But the others are going to be like, I'm a full-time teachers pay teachers to win this. And it's all about that. Like, and I'm not saying like you could be a full-time TPT seller and still have authenticity. Like, so don't get me wrong there, but it's how you take that. And I think taking it back to my work, you're out of focus, dude. Fix your focus. All right. Taking it back to Breakout, it didn't get to our head, but we stopped doing the work of like getting out, meeting with teachers, cultivating that, like not customer service, because that's still on point, but like really, really getting out there, one-to-one relationships, and started to like, how do real businesses scale? Well, like they don't in the right way. Like it's, so, and it's trying to get back to that, like that I think is really important.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I was like, that's when we met. You were like an edu celebrity, and then like I didn't understand this. I went to a bunch of different conferences with Natalie, because it was just fun to like hang out with other teachers, because it was such a isolating gig. Really, you're in the classroom for like 8 hours a day, and then you might see like one or two other adults throughout the day, and they all like. It was like a tough gig. So, as far as socializing. So it was like fun to just go hang out with teachers, but then you would have like celebrities. I was like, what is this? What is this shit? I didn't understand what it was. And like, that really turned me off of like the whole thing. And it was just like a gross feeling of like meeting people that like, I mean, it's hard to kind of explain, but like it was just like based on like the number of Twitter followers you had like this social hierarchy type thing, and it wasn't based on like how good you were at anything.
None of that stuff. Yeah,
it was just based on like this thing that was like that was created by this app, and then like depending on how many followers you had in this app, you would like I don't know, get rankings. I don't know how it worked, but like, it was really gross.
No, you're right. Like just really quick, legit. Like there was like groups of people that would like not scheme, but like basically it was like this. It still is probably like this. What's the analogy of a bunch of crabs sitting in a bucket? And like as soon as like some other crab starts to get near the top, everybody would like pull them down. Like, and there was like people with like individual brands that started to gain traction. You started to see them on T-shirts, on some of your probably, I'm talking specifically about one. And like all the people that were not in that same, in their own clique were like trying to like take him down, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, he's just doing his, like, like, I'm sorry that like, he's not in your crew. Like, but it's like they plot, and I get.
Who are we talking about here? I'll cut it out. Who are we talking about here? No. Come on, dude, you gotta tell me. I'll take this part out.
Cut it out. So the real story off. Yeah, so I feel like just making sure that it's not a zero-sum game. Like everything is additive. Sure, like there's only 3 pictures on the poster. Like who gets to go keynote at that event or whatever. But if you care about that picture on the poster, you're doing it wrong. Like if you care about anything other than like feeling good about sharing your practice and your ideas, listening to others, taking what you can, connecting, like, like I think that's what's cool about our friendship is, you have your own, focus, you have your own problems that you're trying to solve, and mine are completely separate, but it's also the same process, of like, one, what the problem you have. Two, make sure like you share your solution as you develop it, but also maintaining authenticity, so, and if you're able to achieve any sort of like status, whether it's financial, attention through followers or whatever, it becomes a responsibility. Like if you exploit that, your days are numbered because people know that and they can smell it. Like you can't hide that for very long, at least.
Yeah. The internet has become very good at figuring out who are the frauds and then like exposing those people. Yeah. And I really appreciate our relationship because I think like it's like a thought partnership, like you bring ideas that like help me think about the things that I'm doing in a new way and like maybe take me in a different direction than if I was just working on this by myself. And
well, to be honest, like that's what I respect and about your work too. Like, here you are, continuing to grind, doing you. Your videos are next level quality, and like you pointed out earlier, it is just a matter of like the algorithm doing its thing and like you go from 0 to 100K or something like that. But it's about your process and why you're doing that. And there's a handful of others that I think also have that. But what I like about it is like, it's funny, I don't know if I would have had the same courage or whatever, like if you had already popped, right? Like if you were at this, like this level, I don't know, we wouldn't be here. Like, it's also like, it's more respect when you aren't at that level and you still have authenticity and you're still grinding and you're still trying. Like, I like that better.
It's like an advantage when you're little, you can like, no one's watching you. So you can like, so you don't have like that thing in your head. Like, hey, people already have like this idea of who I am. So if I put this out there and it's kind of counter to that idea, how will people feel? And like, I never want to have that because I've had that when I was a kid. My parents really wanted me to be a doctor. And like for a long time, I'd be like, that's what I was going to do. But then I got to the point where I just wasn't like, I did some like rotations. So like you just go watch the other doctors do stuff. It wasn't my thing. And like, I just remember feeling like so like some kind of shame, like, man, like I'm like a failure. Like my parents are going to, my kid, like my Sri Lankan community is going to think I'm a failure, all this different stuff. And like that, and I feel so good about it after the decision. But like, while I was going through that, I was just feeling like, what would other people think? That was like the only thing that was going in my head. What would other people think? Not like, how am I going to feel? So I think that lesson really is a reason why I'm just like, dude, I really don't care about anyone except for Natalie, my kids, and my parents about certain things, about how people feel about me.
It's 1,000%, man. Like I got to a point where it's like, I was paralyzed not being able to share online because I just constantly was over analyzing everything. It was like on my Facebook, I have like obviously my high school friends, I have my family, I have my former students, I have investors, like I have customers. And I was like, I thought about how every single person was thinking about something. And then I just lost my own identity. Like in that, like I got to a point where I think it was like a year or two ago, like I deleted everything.
Yeah, I remember that.
I deleted my accounts, but I deleted every post, everything online, every tweet, like, and it's like, I've been in this like holding pattern of like, well, then what's next? And I get that question, like, what's next? And, professionally, I know like I'm going to build Breakout EDU. That's where I work. That's what I love doing. But, from a personal brand and a sharing standpoint, needing to get to your level of like, I don't care. And this is where I like about this video podcast, this thing that we're doing with audiobooks is like, these are the conversations that we just have one-on-one. Like we just happen to be doing it in front of a camera. But this is the same like video chat that we have, like when you're recommending The Sovereign Individual or any other books like that. Like, But so like, we're going to put it out there, and probably nobody will watch, but that's what's great. Like, and then I have a space so I can just do, and then if it catches on, then, you know, how do I maintain that? Like, who cares? Just do it for you.
Yeah. I think like another good thing about like not giving any like, but like now it's just like there's none to give. This is from Dave Chappelle. And I like that philosophy of like not, it's because there's a weight on your creativity. Dude, how are you going to make any creative decisions, take any risks when you're constantly thinking about that like person that's going to be like judging you negatively, and that person doesn't even exist. And realistically, they don't even care about you at all. So I don't know. I think this is the right move. It's just like really don't care about what you're doing. Just keep trying things, keep failing, because it's very low risk to fail on the internet.
Well, I think that's probably a good kind of closing message. I mean, it's like, you know, here we are practicing what we preach. We're each coming in with our own, like, you know, angle of like, what am I trying to solve and what do I get from this? You have your same. And I think the closing message to folks is like, find that for you. You know, like, you know, if you have, Dave Chappelle's a great example. He's obviously somebody who's achieved immense fame and wealth, but he's still searching for that pure creative, putting himself out there and being okay with it, not necessarily vibing with everybody the right way. You know, like he's gotten, you know, canceled or slapped down a handful of times, and he's definitely has opinions that I don't agree with, but he has the courage to put those out there.
Yeah.
Like, and so, you know, read the book, super fans, listen to it like us, or, you know, read it, whatever. Yeah. That is a guidebook.
Absolutely.
Like, do that for the right reasons, and you'll succeed. I don't know. What are your kind of closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think we are living in a really interesting time. If you want to start anything, any idea that you have in your brain, this is the perfect time to do it. And we're living through especially if you're listening to this in America, and you can and you have like the cognitive ability to think, you can be successful. Like, you can find your tribe, you can create a group of people that will support you. But I think there was a part in do you remember this part where he was a food server, and then he would bring three lemons. Yeah, yep. He would bring 3 lemons to this guy. And the point of that story was like, it's about serving your community. This whole thing is about like figuring out what your problem is, figuring out how other people can use your problem to solve problems for themselves, and then like really, really digging in and figuring out their mindset and like how exactly are you going to help them make their lives a little better. And that's how you build a super fan base. If you don't want to read the book, that's how you do it. Just figure out a problem and like help people solve that problem. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can leave this in. Like, I like this, man. Like, let's do it again. Like, let's pick another book and
yeah. Do you want to pitch your next book, or do you want to do like a video?
I'm thinking, yeah. No, I mean, I'm 83% sure that 83 is just year I was born. Anyways, 83% sure it's going to be the hard thing about hard things.
Okay. So if you guys want to pick that up, pick it up.
Hard thing about hard things.
Cool.
All right. Well, see you next time.
See you next time. Bye, everybody. Love you. Have a good day.